a rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Holy smokes, folks. Wow. What just the last 2 weeks has been just amazing. I mean, well, let's just not, we can't call the Trump assassination amazing, but all I can tell you is that this has been an extremely active news cycle that's been going on. And yes, Music Man, I know you miss the ice. I know you do. So hello, Whiskey Warriors. Got to put that in there. Hello, Whiskey Warriors. And of course, all my fantastic P1s. And then also don't forget all of you guests, anyone else that is watching and listening for the first time, welcome to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have the news broke Sunday and I just want to point this out. Mark Halperin, I think that was his name. But anyway, the gentleman on X who broke the news, the first news, and Newsmax, who picked up on it first, and they broke the news about the entire crepe show, bleep show, whatever you want to call it, that is going on right now in the Democrat Party. They called it. They called that Joe would be stepping out on Sunday. They called that it would happen after the morning shows, because, of course, they didn't want to hit those. Now, what was extremely weird, and I'll get to it, but what was extremely weird was the methodology with which this occurred. So, before I get to that, let's go ahead and get our Pledge of Allegiance out of the way, and I believe I have Pops McGroin up for tonight, so please, if you are of mind, stand, remove your hat, if you have one, place your hand over your heart, and let's join in with Pops leading the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
That's right. God bless America. Thank you, Pops McGroin, and your partner. I forgot to mention your partner. I think it's your wife, but anyway, for that wonderful rendition. If you would like to get your rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance on the show, just record yourself doing it. And then, of course, send me the audio file. You can send it direct to me at the email address of fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. All right, really quick. Oh, I don't even know why I would have forgotten that name, but anyway, really quick shout out. Outlaw Dogs is mourning the 10th anniversary of losing Ace. Ace was a pet of the week, a prior pet of the week here on the show, and Ace passed 10 years ago today. So condolences, of course, out to Outlaw Dogs, and yeah, so there we go. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead. And as you can see, I am back in the fantastic polo that comes from theflagshirt.com. This one is the Liberty Bell polo. You can see right here is the Liberty Bell. And it's because it's actually cool enough up here for me to be able to do this again. But yeah, so if you want to look like me, You can't talk like me, you can't be me, but you can at least look fantastic in patriotic gear from theflagshirt.com. Go to theflagshirt.com, okay, theflagshirt.com, and check out all of their styles. They've got button downs, they've got polos, they've got t-shirts, they've got some great stuff. I wear a lot of their clothes on this broadcast, and you can go to theflagshirt.com and check it all out. They have a setup right now for the Olympics. They have some special packs for the Olympics. They're calling the Olympics gear. And there's patriotic summer gear as well. And as always, if you order $75 or more, you'll get free shipping from theflagshirt.com. Also, too, I am going to kick in an extra $5 off. So if you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, you can get a code personalized for you to get $5 off when you put it in the promo code box at the time of checkout. So go and take a look, grab that promo code, flagshirt.americanperspective.online, and you will get that promo code to put in at checkout for an additional $5 off your order. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. Well, folks, I just got to tell you, we had the Secret Service director on the Hill giving a bunch of crap answers, not answers, misdirections, runarounds, nothing really amazing there. And nothing really amazing there from that. So I just don't understand what the heck these people are doing, but whatever. So I don't really have a whole heck of a lot there because she just basically, she needs to be fired. She should have walked out of that meeting, and the Biden administration should have just kicked her to the curb immediately. Nancy Mace had some very choice words for her. Not to mention the fact that now it's a bipartisan effort, by the way, that has been growing now that this first hearing and testimony is over. And they essentially are, they're all calling, both sides of the party are calling for her to disappear, to resign, get out, whatever. And there's a lot more. And Outlaw Dogs, no. Congress can't, Outlaw Dog says, can't the Oversight Committee fire her, or does it have to be POTUS? It has to be POTUS. It has to be POTUS, or somebody within POTUS, or somebody within the executive branch. The Congress can't just fire somebody, at least not as far as that goes. That would be a violation of the Constitution outside of impeachment for the upper levels. So this whole thing, no, it's not going to happen. So they are essentially, they ripped her a new one. She gave a bunch of canned, non-descriptive, non-answer answers. And so there, it just became a bit of a, let's just say a crap show, a bleep show. And I'm not even going to bother wasting my time on it because of the fact that she's just incompetent at her job. Completely incompetent with everything that happened. And also, too, we find out that the Trump team, the Trump protection detail, had been asking for bolstering for a very long time. And even though Alejandro Mayorkas said, no, we never received any requests, they lied. What is it about this administration? They just lie about everything. It's like they somehow morphed into Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is a serial liar, and for his whole career, and he just, it's like he infected the entire administration that way. It just amazes me. And what's even more amazing to me is the fact that you have these people who they think that they are getting away with the lies because they just keep lying and they don't even care. It's like there's not even a speck or ounce of integrity among the bunch. They just don't give a shit. And yeah, it's just I don't even understand. And you have these stupid morons in the Democrat leftists who are all standing there, and they're all just like mirroring and just mimicking and repeating and the whole bit, everything. It's the freaking hive mind. Something happened. I don't know what. These people all drink from the same freaking tainted water dish or water bowl or something. But anyway, I just don't know. Honestly, how anybody can vote Democrat after all of this crap still, I swear, they're just complete, utter imbeciles and morons. Speaking of imbeciles and morons, let's get on to the topic at hand. Joe Biden, of course, released a statement on X, stepping out of the presidential race. Now, what was interesting about the statement? Actually, there's quite a few things that were interesting about the statement. Here, let me show you. Oh boy. There we go. So what's interesting about this statement, and I'm showing it to the people on Rumble and YouTube and X and so on and so forth on the video portion of the program. So if you're listening to this audio-wise afterward, head on over to rumble.com and check it out. You can take a look at it. But what's interesting about this is number one, this is not on official White House letterhead. Now, keep in mind, there is the Hatch Act, which prevents people from using stuff. So this presidential seal business, I mean, some of that could fall into the Hatch Act because you can't use the office in order to do things like this. This is part of the reason why when Donald Trump had the RNC announcement in 2020 on the White House lawn, it was different, and it was not a violation of the Hatch Act. But there could be something in there. I don't know the Hatch Act completely in my, completely verbatim. So there could be something there. So I wouldn't necessarily put a lot into that piece of it. However, there is a couple of things that are missing from this letter. One is the fact that he doesn't actually explain why he's not doing it. All he's doing is he's just basically saying, I'm stepping out. Here's all the things that I've done, which a lot of this is BS anyway. And then he went and he said, okay, well, I'm done. And I endorse Kamala Harris. But the funny thing is that he actually didn't endorse her at first. He endorsed her in a second message coming out. He didn't bother endorsing her on this first one. Now he did say that he will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about his decision. That's a statement from this right here. All right. He's been missing for 5 days. We haven't seen him since he went into his COVID recovery. Okay. And this announcement on X surprised literally everyone because of the fact that just hours prior to this coming out on the Sunday shows, his entire administration, his entire campaign, everybody was gearing up for the idea that Joe Biden was going to be back out on the campaign trail come today. And I don't know, man. I mean, it just seems a little odd that he wouldn't even just address the nation to talk about this, because this is kind of a big deal. I mean, the last time this happened in terms of a presidential candidate before the nomination stepped down, I believe was 1968 was the last time that it happened. And it happened one other time in 1924. So this is the third time in history that this has ever happened. Well, the thing that a lot of the socials were talking about, totally clear on the socials, was that, oh, Joe Biden, he's a hero. He's stepping aside because he's putting the country first. No offense, but that's a bunch of bullshit right there, let me tell you. Okay. Total bullshit. And the reason being is because of the fact that we all know that freaking Obama, Pelosi, Schiff, and the rest, well, not all of them, but a vast majority of the Democrat elites were the ones that were pushing him out. They were the ones that were telling him, Joe, it's time to go. Okay? Now, another thing that is completely fascinating about this whole thing, of course, is the fact that right after the announcement came and the subsequent endorsement of Kamala Harris by Biden, it wasn't that long, and I'm talking like super fast, that the Clintons had a statement already prepared. They had to have, because they immediately came out, the Clintons immediately came out and backed Kamala Harris, gave her their endorsement. And then we have, of course, the fact that Barack Obama still, to my knowledge, has not endorsed Kamala Harris yet. And Pelosi actually held out until later this afternoon. She, at first, behind private doors, by the way, she has been advocating for what is considered an open convention. Meaning that what they were going to try and do is try and make it so that it would be a competition to see who was actually going to be the nominee. Now, Obama did release a statement, but the statement did not unequivocally and clearly back Kamala Harris. He talked about, and this was typical of a lot of Democrats, talked about Joe's special things that he's done and so on and so forth, you know, all of the good that he's done, and he's a hero for you know, thinking of America over himself and so on and so forth, all of that kind of support, but nothing, as far as I know, and I could be wrong, but as far as I know, Obama has yet to actually endorse Kamala Harris. Now, do I think that that's any kind of a clue? Maybe. But the reality of it is that he will probably eventually endorse her. And the reason being is because they've got that $91 million or almost $100 million, whatever, whoever you talk to, the number in the bank. Because the FEC has come out and clearly stated that if Kamala Harris is not on the ticket, if she's not on the ticket, they can't grab that money. That money has to be returned. There's no other way for it to work. So, as I've been telling you for the longest time, you know, Kamala Harris has to be on the ticket in some way, shape, or form in order for them to dive into that war chest. They can't just suck it away and put it into like an alternative candidate's ticket. But they can take it and put it into the DNC's coffers and have a little bit more restrictions in terms of how the money gets allocated. And they could turn it into what's called a super PAC, which would be even a little more restrictive than just dropping it into the DNC's coffers. Okay. But Yeah, they're not willing to let all of that money go. Now, reportedly, Kamala Harris, grassroots effort, has like made almost twice that or something like that. Or doubled it, or, made some fantastical, oh my gosh, 24 hours, they've made like $50 billion dollars. I don't know. Nobody's going to know until the official reports come out. Everybody, they could just be saying whatever they're saying. But as far as money goes, I'm hearing reports that the Trump campaign has actually exceeded, based on the most recent filings, exceeded the Biden campaign in terms of what's considered cash on hand, which is what they're looking for. So, all of this is going to be extremely interesting because there's a lot of opportunities here. So far, nothing, as far as I can tell, nothing has really changed. The DNC is still going to do their virtual meeting in the first couple weeks in August, and then do their secondary nomination or the actual convention in Chicago later on in August. And that, as far as I know, hasn't even changed yet, even with this news. But don't be surprised if it does change between now and then, because, of course, they were doing that virtual nomination because they had to get Biden onto the ticket. And speaking about that, there's been some rumors running around about, ballots already being cast and so on and so forth, and that or printed, and that certain times have passed. I haven't been able to find any evidence of that. Not for the general election ballots. There's plenty of information that points out that all of the primary ballots cannot be changed, but the regular election ballots, any primary ballots that might be left over, but the regular general election ballots still have time. In fact, the closest one I think was, or the farthest one out from the election cycle was like 90 days out from election cycle, and we're now at about 100. So, yeah, this is, again, this is going to be wild. This is going to be wild. So the question that some people might ask is, why are the Democrats not pissed? And by Democrats, I mean the regular average loony leftist morons who just, are part of the hive mind, who are following the Democrat Party. Why are they mad? Why aren't they? Sorry. Why are they not mad? Okay. Why are they not mad for this whole thing? Because let's be honest with you, what has essentially happened here is a core class of Democrat elite have actually decided to take the course of this nomination in their own hands. And they are essentially directing, installing, just like they did with Bernie Sanders in both 2016 and 2020. Both of them. I just don't understand why these Democrats aren't pissed off. And at first, it sounded like they were going to be, because for the 2 days prior, so this would have been Friday and Saturday prior to this announcement, they were all saying, no, you can't take Joe. No, you can't take Joe. And they were all sitting there saying, oh, Joe ain't gonna, Joe's gonna be in it for the long haul. We picked Joe and Joe's in it. And then all of a sudden, Joe steps out. Which, by the way, is the only way that they could have gotten rid of Joe. If he'd have decided to stay in, it really probably would not have mattered much. It would have been tough, don't get me wrong, but it probably wouldn't have mattered much with Joe taking off and not wanting to go, or wanting to go, however you want to put it. So whatever the incentive was for Joe and the family, because I'm telling you right now, Hunter Biden reportedly was the last holdout in the entire family, was like adamant that this was not going to happen, that Joe is going to be in it to win it, let's say. Well, I also heard that Hunter took off to California before the weekend, or right on the weekend. Either way, it was before, as far as I know, it was before this announcement. So it's not like he was there when this happened. But think about this. The Democrats who've been pointing up, who've been, sorry, not pointing up, but have been touting and pushing the whole idea of democracy. Democracy rules. Elections are coming. Elections are the most important thing, and everybody having their right to vote is the most important thing. And yet, the Democrat elites and the money makers have kicked out the 14 million plus voters, almost 14.5 million voters decision, and none of those people are pissed. None of them. None of them are pissed. They go and I'm telling you, it was fascinating watching this on social media this weekend, because it started off with like shock and surprise, and then in about, I don't know, maybe an hour, the shock wore off and everybody was like, oh, okay. Everything is all right. We're going to be okay. We've got Kamala. Kamala's possibly, yeah. And then we're going to have a woman president again. And we're going to have a woman black president again. She's not black. Okay. Kamala Harris is not black. She's Indian. And her father is of like some mixed race. They have no idea. Jamaican, Indian, whatever. She is not black, but yet that's what they're going to claim. And God forbid if I just said it, I'm going to be called a racist just because I said the truth. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now, what's funny is that through all of this, the only thing that we have seen so far is the information, or the only thing that we have seen is that letter coming out from the Biden. Now, and let's be honest. I mean, Biden doesn't run his own social media accounts. He doesn't have the wherewithal to do so. So there's a lot of question that's been speculating and running all over the place as to whether or not Joe is still potentially with us. And I'm not mean mentally, although mentally would be fine. The thing is that Joe has been out of our sight for quite some time. Well, apparently he called in to a Harris campaign event, and Benny Johnson over on X, hat tip to him and to Fox News for this. They had him apparently call in to this event, and well, take a listen and you tell me what you think. Do you think that Joe is like fully there with this thing? Anyway, take a listen.
More we're going to get done. And so I want to say hello to Kamala if she can hear me. I know she's going to be speaking shortly. And I want to say to the team, embrace her. She's the best. I want to call today to thank everybody in this effort. I know yesterday's news was surprising and it was hard for you to hear, but it was the right thing to do. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing, help me get this nomination, help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency. But, you know, you're an amazing team, but we've got a great, I think we made the right decision. I know how hard you worked, how many sacrifices you made. And so many of you uprooted your lives for me, and the kind of commitments few people make for anything these days, but you made it. And I've been honored and humbled. I mean, this is from the bottom of my heart. My word is a Biden, that for all you've done for me and my family. And we built the best campaign in organization in history. I've been doing this. I always kid and say, I know I'm only 40, but I've been around a long time. I don't know of a better campaign organization, grassroots campaign. You know, we have over 230 offices opened. We have over 2,000 paid staff, and we have literally several thousand volunteers on a regular basis, thousands of them. And they've been relentless and tireless in reaching out and contacting voters. The leadership of this campaign has been amazing. Jen O'Malley, Dillon, Julie Quinn, Michael Tyler, Rob Flaherty, Rufus on raising money, and so many more. You built this team. You brought them together. You brought us together. You've inspired them, and you've done what leaders do. Now we got to, you know, the name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell, both as a sitting president, getting legislation passed, as well as in campaigning. You know, what we still need to save this democracy. And Trump is still a danger to the community. He's a danger to the nation. And just ask my foreign policy colleagues, my counterparts, and other people around the world and at home. Look, so I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala. And I want you to know, I won't be on the ticket, but I'm still going to be fully engaged. I've got 6 months left of my presidency. I'm determined to get as much done as I possibly can, both foreign policy and domestic policy. Keep lowering costs for families, continue to speak out on guns and child care, elder care, prescription drugs, and climate. Climate still is the existential threat that we face, and if we don't win this thing, it's all in jeopardy. And we got to keep working for an end to the war in Gaza. I'll be working very closely with the Israelis and with the Palestinians to try to work out how we can get the Gaza war to end and Middle East peace and get all those hostages home. I think we're on the verge of being able to do that. And we got to keep our alliances together. It's critically important. It took a while for me to build these alliances. Most of these my colleagues have acknowledged that, but it's critically important for our safety and security. And I know I'll be doing whatever Kamala wants me or needs me to do in addition. So let me be real clear. We're still fighting in this fight together. I'm not going anywhere. And I want you to know you've always had my back, and I promise you I will always have your back. And I'm anxious for you all to hear from Kamala. So thank you, Julie. You're the best.
All right. So what do you guys think? Did that sound like Joe? I mean, the intonation was pretty close, but I caught a couple of things. Number one is that he didn't pause when everybody was clapping in the background. He didn't pause. He didn't stop. He didn't react. So I'm kind of questioning whether or not this was actually a pre-recorded or possibly AI-generated voice for this. I mean, back in the day, you know, they used to have form letters. They used to have letters that would go out that like for the president's signature. The president himself wouldn't actually sign every single piece of documents that he was sending out, whether it was a letter or not. It was either like a rubber stamp or a facsimile or something along those lines. I'm wondering if that was actually a recorded phone call, if that wasn't a live person. I don't know, but there were some things that didn't sound right. One, he was able to enunciate plenty words without having too much of a problem. Yes, he was kind of slurring a little bit, but that didn't sound like his normal pattern of speech. Even if he was reading something, we've seen him in front of a teleprompter. He's gotten lost in front of teleprompters and stuff, especially recently. And so I'm not entirely sure that was not either falsely or faked, AI generated or something like that. Or something like, I don't know. Somebody who might be an impersonator. I mean, we have Sean Farish who can impersonate Donald Trump pretty well. Why would they not employ a impersonator for Joe Biden? Anyway, I'm not entirely sold yet that Joe is not in trouble somewhere. And, you know, the movie Dave, who has, shoot. God, I can't think of his name. Picture his face. He was in Silverado too, and I can't think of his name. But anyway, the movie Dave, where they had a mental or a medical issue with the president, and they got this guy who happened to be like an almost exact likeness of him to step into the White House and take over the reins for a period of time. So that was and it was a comedy, kind of a romantic comedy. But anyway, yeah. So, it just seems kind of weird that this is being done, that it happens so quickly, that he essentially hasn't been seen. He said literally before the COVID diagnosis, folks, he literally said in an interview that I would step aside if I was diagnosed with some sort of a medical condition. And then he immediately got the COVID diagnosis. So I don't know. This is just really kind of odd. Now, it's even more odd too, because even though he called in on this, or supposedly called in on this particular scenario, his entire schedule has been wiped. Take a look at this. According to the Daily Wire, the president's schedule was wiped clean after ending campaign via the letter. And he was supposed to meet with Bibi Netanyahu tomorrow. Netanyahu was already on his way here. And that meeting is up in limbo. So the schedule that was released Sunday night has resulted in questions and speculation on social media surrounding Biden, who has not been seen or heard from publicly since being diagnosed with COVID last Wednesday. Jason Miller, senior advisor to former President Donald Trump, commented on Biden's schedule, posting on X, Kamala Harris needs to be asked if she believes Joe Biden is still competent enough to do the job of president. Next week's schedule doesn't give one much confidence. Yeah. So and just as a reminder, he had canceled his entire Nevada campaign trip after getting the COVID diagnosis. So, yeah, this is just too odd and weird. It's so weird and so odd. I just don't know how to even process it. All of this stuff has been happening so damn fast that I'm having a hard time sorting through the rubble and figuring out what the hell is actually happening. You know, for him to have backed out in through a letter on social media and then of course come in and have what sounded like a recording was just something that I am not prepared to necessarily deal with. Well, we've been talking about where the Democrats go from here in terms of this, and one option, of course, is to go to an open convention. Now, this is something that Nancy Pelosi has mentioned and has talked about. She privately, by the way, reportedly, that's been her private conversation, has been dealing with how an open convention, having an open convention. Now, so here's essentially what my understanding of how this is going to potentially work. Because Biden has dropped out of the race, all of his delegates that have pledged to him are now free to do what they want. They can vote in any way that they wish at the convention. And this does not necessarily mean that they automatically go to Kamala Harris. Okay. They can decide of their own free will to go to somebody else, which is part of the reason why some of the conversations surrounding alternatives, such as Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, J.B. Pritzker, even up to and including Hillary Clinton, have all been floated in terms of who could potentially be the nominee. Now, none of that has changed at this point. But the fact of the matter is that you have to get a certain number of candidates or a certain number of electors, apparently as a part of the primary process, in order to even be considered as a part of the ballot during the convention. She needs, and Nana of JJS points it out on Rumble, she needs 300 electors with at least, or with a limit of 50 per state. Now, keep in mind, California by itself has, I think, something like 53 or 55. I don't remember the last count. I know it had changed here recently. Now, people have floated the idea of having a vice president come in, and somebody like, it could have somebody like, Gavin Newsom come in as her vice president. Well, the problem that you have with that is the same problem that Trump and geez, I'm just horrible on names tonight. But anyway, the same problem that Trump had with two Florida people. Two California folks, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. So pretty much you can count out. Oh, Nana is telling me they have about 157. I thought they had less than that. My bad. Okay. So anyway, the thing is that you can kind of discount a Harris Newsom ticket. You can probably toss that one to the curb. Gretchen Whitmer reportedly has said she is staying right where she is. So, but I mean, we saw DeSantis say that he wasn't going to jump in, and then he went ahead and did. So who the hell knows what happens there? The rest of those folks have all endorsed her, potentially because of the fact that the endorsement, of course, will help lead to the secondary seat on the ticket. But once they get there, and provided that there's no one who necessarily stands against her, okay, she could gain the nomination at that virtual meeting that is essentially coming up in the next couple of weeks. Now, reportedly, she has been working really, really hard to get the delegates. And according to the Daily Wire, she has more than half of what she needs in order to win the nomination at this time. Now, this is less than 24 hours since, well, actually now it's probably a little bit more. It's probably just over 24 hours. So this is about 24 hours after the announcement. Kamala Harris has already garnered enough support of more than half of the delegates needed. The findings of an Associated Press survey released on Monday showed that Harris is getting the support of 1152 delegates, indicating that she is fast approaching the 1976 needed for her to become the nominee. Another 56 delegates were listed as undecided. And sources have been telling Reuters that Harris aims to secure a majority of the nearly 3,900 convention delegates by Wednesday, as her campaign and allies work the phones in an effort to ward off any potential challengers. And one of those potential challengers was reportedly Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin, there was a report out that he was going to try and sign back up with the Democrat Party in order to throw his hat into the ring for president. And what ended up happening, apparently, is Hakeem Jeffries said, no, we're not accepting any applications. So that might have shot that down in the whole mix in terms of the entire situation here. But this is wild. I told you guys this was going to be an incredible year for an election year, an incredible election year. And so, wow. I mean, it's just amazing. But let's talk a little bit about the challenges that Kamala Harris has moving forward. So one of the things that the Democrats are doing is they're setting up to take potshots at Trump. So far, outside of the whole existential threat to democracy thing, which, by the way, if you can, keep reminding anyone who uses that against the Trump campaign, you may want to put in the socials, you may want to tell them, yeah, you guys aren't much for democracy because your head of your ticket who was locked in just got pushed out by a Democrat elite cabal. But anyway, so the attacks apparently on Kamala Harris are going to have to be outside of her race because it's already been told that it's already been announced, understood that any kind of an attack on Kamala Harris is going to be considered misogynist and racist, regardless of whether or not the attack is true. But here's the thing. Kamala Harris does have a hurdle to get over. And this is something that we as Republicans need to make sure that people know about this all over the social medias. And that is essentially that she was the named border czar. So technically the entire border catastrophe with all of the immigrants, the illegal aliens that have been coming across the border have all been because of her and not directly because of Biden, even though Joe Biden could have stopped it. I mean, he had the ability. He still does legally. I've explained all of that on this program not that long ago. But she takes command and control and she only went to the border once. And so I just don't see how she's going to try and avoid some of the same arguments that people have been making over Biden for all of this time. Not to mention the fact that we have plenty of video out there of her wonderful word salads. So the left has been talking about the potential that Donald Trump doesn't want to face her in any kind of a debate because she is just so wonderful. Well, I hate to point this out, but yeah, she has some problems with circular word salads in her speeches. So I highly doubt, not to mention the fact that she ended up being pushed out of the primary before even the first convention happened. The first primary vote, before a single vote was cast for her, she bowed out. So this is going to be kind of interesting. Not to mention also, too, that she has a serious past when it comes to things like criminals and keeping criminals in jail. She kept them in jail for a lot longer than what they needed to in order to be able to take advantage of the free labor that they provided while being in prison. She also has a history of putting people in jail for small misdemeanor marijuana charges, which the left has been really pushing to try and get legalized nationwide. She has a bunch of historic problems that she is going to have to face now that she's being brought into the spotlight. And on top of that, she's going to have to find a way to figure out how she can get somebody on the ticket. that is going to necessarily help her, because her approval ratings are in the low 30s, just like Joe Biden's were. So it's not as though she is like a stellar standout dark horse candidate that came out of nowhere. We've got plenty of ammunition to be able to go after her completely. And you just have to ignore the fact that she is a woman of potentially of color. Now, in my particular point of view, as I've been pointing out on the socials also, is that if you go and vote specifically for a person who essentially has very little in the way of any kind of foreign experience, foreign policy experience, has very little in the way of actual leadership experience, has not demonstrated a single good thing in her history. And let's just ignore the whole fact of, you know, the potential sleeping with Willie Brown to get into office in the first place. But she's led failed campaigns in the past. Even the campaign that got her in as senator, it's because her candidate was even weaker than she was in terms of campaigning. So the chances of her actually mounting a strong campaign outside of getting additional help from others is going to be very tough for her. My guess is that she is probably going to try and create a diverse ticket. But the diverse ticket that she is going to be looking for may end up being a white male. And I don't know if that's going to float enough of the black vote or the Hispanic vote or anything else that she needs. Now, I will tell you this much. The left has already lined up with the idea that this is going to be another I'm with her. And the possibility of Kamala picking Hillary Clinton as her running mate does exist. And if Hillary Clinton gets picked up, then you're going to see an all-female ticket versus an all-male ticket. And I guarantee you, the left would literally wet themselves in excitement over that entire situation. So we're going to have to see how this thing breaks out. We really are. We are looking at complete uncharted territory, not to mention the fact that the Trump campaign is going to have to swivel and pivot and do backflips in order to get their entire campaign direction lined up to go after her, even though they still don't know whether or not she is going to be the candidate. They're not going to know that until toward the end of August, presumably. So we'll just have to see. This is for anyone who is in the political sphere and gets excited and watching this kind of stuff. It's going to be fun, but it's also extremely dangerous. Now, dangerous. Why would this be dangerous? Well, pretty simply right now, especially given the fact that we haven't seen Joe. We've heard from him, but we haven't seen him. We're going to have to be very, very careful and head on a swivel here, people, because as of right now, okay, our enemies are watching all of this. They are seeing all of this. This could be the perfect time to mount an attack, because right now our commander-in-chief is in loco, not in loco parentis. That's different. But right now he is totally missing. He is totally missing at this point, and is being deemed as not mentally competent. And then we have her, Kamala Harris, stepping in the middle. We have the fact that we have a Donald Trump who had a shot taken on him by a 20-year-old kid. And just all of the security breakdown that happened there. This is this is just a high stress time for a lot of people. I'm telling you right now. So keep your head on a swivel and keep things in mind with all of this. All right. One last article that I do want to point out. The Democrats have been talking about how violent crime has been dropping. And of course, one of the things that they don't recognize is the fact that it's actually reporting that has dropped. It's not just the violent crime is disappearing. It's that the major cities are not reporting it. And I've pointed this out on the socials many times with regards to it. Well, now here's this story in the New York Post that proves it. Rape surges up 11% in New York City as bail reform, vulnerable migrants, depleted NYPD create the perfect crime storm. Folks, they cannot stay hidden on this, on subjects like this for very long. They just can't. They have to take ownership of all of this. So according to the Post, there were 880 rapes reported citywide from January 1 through July 14th, compared to 796 in the same period last year. This should be a wake-up call, said Jane Manning, director of Women's Equal Justice. The NYPD needs to allocate more investigators to its understaffed Special Victims Unit so that every case is investigated well and dangerous offenders are apprehended. Dangerous offenders are apprehended. It won't matter anyway, because most of these people, I don't know if anybody saw it, but there was a Haitian migrant who got released on a $500 bail after, I think, raping or killing somebody. They just let them out. That's the thing. They don't bother to house them. This is the kind of stuff that is going to make 2024, the whole process, the whole idea of Trump's campaign deporting illegal aliens, which is the legal term for those people. They need to get rid of them. They need to get them all out. They need to get them all out. And there's an image here. If you're on the video portion, you can take a look and see the police precincts where things are going up. The number of rapes across the city, they have the 10th precinct, which added 6 rapes this year. That's a 300% change. You have Midtown South, which added 10. That's 111% change. The 101st added 7. They basically doubled. That's 100% change. The 101st added 7 to their total from over last year, which is a 70% increase. Every single borough, it seems, in the district that is highlighted here has had them increase. Every single one. Not one single borough has gone down from this that you can see within the graphic. This is a widespread problem here in the New York area, the New York City area. Now, that's just in the city, people. That's just one example. Just one example. Having these illegal aliens here is just, it's detrimental to our safety, not to mention the fact that, as I've reported and many other people have reported, illegal folks have been taking over all those part-time jobs that Joe has been touting about adding to our job total and, you know, booming economy and so on and so forth. So anyway. All right, everybody. That brings us to a wrap for tonight. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com and get yourself an account. It's free. And once you are there, make sure you hit that follow button for the American Perspective channel. Also, I invite you to check out the McGroin channel, because the McGroin channel follows and promotes patriotic podcasters such as myself. So make sure you go and check out the McGroins and follow them. They have a listing of all kinds of Patriot First, America First podcasts. Also, too, don't forget, tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the American Perspective outlets throughout the interwebs and interspheres. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Have a great evening, and good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.